Okay, we are now streaming live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, as usual, to our 30-minute Ask Me Anything about accreditation, although we usually go way off topic. I'm your host, Dawn Campbell, Business Director at the IAPC&M. And in the hot seat, at the very last minute, very kindly, John Rice decided to support me because my previous guest had to drop out, and she will be coming, Julie will be coming in September. So welcome and hello, John.
Thanks very much, Dawn. And I think it's a great thing to say yes to things. It takes you out your comfort zone a bit. No time
Yeah,
to worry about it and just straight in. So it's about an
I
hour ago.
love that. I love that. Yeah, no time to think about it. Just jump in and say yes to opportunities. Everything's an opportunity and doors are opening all the time. So don't be frightened to say yes. Great. So just to set the scene, as I always do, we have regulars who listen, and it's maybe a little bit of a guilty pleasure having a cup of coffee. I get comments like that saying, oh, I didn't know I could be coached on that. And, I didn't know I could become a coach in this niche area. So yeah, really interesting topics that we discuss week in, week out. But essentially, Ask Me Anything About Accreditation is for you if you want to train to become a coach and or a mentor and add that to your toolkit. Or maybe you are somebody who wants to hire a coach and or a mentor. Our January New Year resolutions are a long time forgotten now. So if you need help with your personal and or professional goals, then somebody like John and I are ideally placed to help you achieve those. Maybe you are a coach, and the fact that it's an unregulated market, an accreditation has just passed you by and you want to know more about it, again, you can ask us questions about that. Or maybe you're an international university looking for more students with the next cohort starting in September and thinking, well, how is accreditation going to help my league tables and to help us attract more international students? So all of those questions and more, Gillian, my VA, is monitoring because we're live restreaming live. So that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And she will keep us posted of any questions. So let me introduce John properly. He is the CEO coach for CEOs. And luckily, he has plenty of clients in that area. He is also becoming well known as the go-to for LinkedIn. So if you're a coach and you're starting out on LinkedIn, and maybe you haven't had the results you wanted on Facebook, and you think LinkedIn is more of a business to business type website, you'd be right. And John is ideally placed to help you establish your profile and generate more leads, but we'll come on to that later. So he's a certified coach thinking about becoming accredited, hopefully with ourselves. And John and I know each other because all great coaches still need coaches, mentors, and supervisors. And that's how we met in the Alpha Group, where we all mentor and support each other on a monthly basis. So, John, I always like to start these questions with a transpersonal coaching question. What fills your heart with joy outside of work, please?
Oh, Dawn, that's an easy one. I'd say my family. I set up my coaching business, and like probably everyone you interview, I love coaching. It gives me energy. But I set my coaching business up so that I could spend time with my family. I'm lucky enough to be a dad of a 34-year-old boy and also a 5-year-old girl. So I'm doing parenting again a bit later in life, and it's really important to me that I'm present for my family, and coaching enables me to do that. So my daughter and my wife give me joy.
Yeah, okay. So setting up a coaching business, becoming a solopreneur was a means to an end for you. It wasn't
Absolutely.
necessarily a vocation, although you obviously enjoy it, but actually you had your eye on the bigger prize, which is more time, more freedom, more control for your family.
Yeah, absolutely, Dawn. I mean, there's a small backstory which I'm really willing to share. I burnt out in the corporate world in about 2017 and started to do a lot of inner work myself. I was very grateful for the doctor's support with antidepressants for 6 months, but I knew even then that I wanted to work through this, and I discovered coaching. I guess, like most people, I coached myself for a start. I learnt loads. I'm an avid learner. And I'm really pleased to say now I'm in a great position to help other people. And that is my passion.
That's great. I mean, I always used to say when I was a mentor that if you don't become a coach at the end of your coach training, you will become your own best client. The quality of your life will improve exponentially, even if you never go down the route of setting up a business. So I couldn't agree more with that. That's lovely. Mm. And what do you do outside of work to keep yourself grounded? Do you have any particular strategies or techniques?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to live in a beautiful part of Slovakia. Obviously, I'm from the UK originally. My wife is Slovak, so we have a really nice garden, and I've set up my, if people don't know what it is, a calisthenics workstation. So it's body weight training. I really got into it a few years ago, and honestly, Dawn, I think there's such a link, isn't there, between physical fitness and mental fitness. And I know that that is my go-to. It's not the only tool in the toolbox, but it's such an important part of my life.
And what was that word? I've not heard of that one.
Calisthenics. There's
I've heard
nothing, there's
Kybernetic,
no
but it
calisthenics.
wasn't.
There's no, yeah, there's no real equipment involved, as in weights or dumbbells, but you use your own body weight to train, and it's a beautiful way of training because you're so in touch with your body.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like Pilates.
Yeah, but I mean I'm not an expert on Pilates. I'd probably be better to say what it is. I mean some of the things that people might have recognized or words are muscle up. That is getting yourself above a high bar without any equipment. So you need to train for that. I'm almost there. Um, it's free handstands, which do you know what? Until 5 years ago, I didn't realize what strength you needed to hold yourself the other way up. So it's really a really great way of being completely in tune with your body, balance wise and strength wise.
Mm. And mentally fit, sorry, physically fit means mentally fit as well, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the two go hand in hand. I mean, there's so much evidence now. I was only reading a report the other day which said if you become mentally fit first, you're much more likely to achieve your physical goals. And it makes sense. You know, you'll stick with habits, you'll have a passion for what you're doing. And, you know, you and I know, Dawn, that I am certified through Positive Intelligence, which is a wonderful program which gets to the root cause of all negative thinking and resolves it. And that's just, you know, a stable part of my day as well. It takes 15 minutes a day. Those are split into 2 minute sessions of kind of mixture of mindfulness and meditation, but built for busy people.
Okay. Oh, well, people like a hack, don't they, John? They like things that are really super quick. So I'm
Mm.
sure that's popular. I've just finished reading The Biology of Belief. I'm sure you've read that
I
or
haven't
come
actually,
across
but
Bruce
thanks for the
Lipton's book.
recommendation.
Well, I think it's right up your street. The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I have to say, it was very hard going for me personally. I found it very scientific, but it starts off, I think, with the premise of where is the mind, and we all
Mm,
think it's in the brain or in the head, and it's not. It's in each and every cell,
yeah.
and that's how we can change our beliefs. And it talks about epigenetics and DNA and things like that, and how actually we have a huge amount of control. We can't blame our genes and say,
Mm,
"Oh, I'm fat because my parents were fat. We've always been fat." It's not like that. It's environment, it's a choice, etc. So I think you would enjoy that. Unleashing the power of consciousness, mind and matter and miracles. So very
that's
good.
great. Yeah, thanks
Mm,
for that, Dawn. It's on my
yeah,
list
sure.
now.
Probably like me, you've got an ever-growing list and there's just not enough time, and so many great books, not enough time. There's a word for that and I can't remember what it is. It begins with T, I think. People who buy books, but I don't know about you. I buy a lot of books, and now I'm starting to buy them on Kindle because we had a house fire. But
Oh,
I buy a lot of books, and then maybe years later it will come just pop off the shelf and say,
yeah.
that's the time to read me. And it happens continually. A
I'm
bit
going to
like
be
this
honest.
one, feelings buried never die. I've had this for years and I've only just read it.
Yeah.
These two books this week. Absolute perfect timing.
I think you read things when it resonates, don't you? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to move my chair because we're on film, but I have a stack of books behind my chair, which I have not read yet. But like you, I know that I'll pick them up at the right time.
Yeah. I've got a rebounder. Do you know what one is, John?
No,
It's a mini trampoline for the office.
right.
Uh, and it's worth getting a good one. It's like all things, you get what you pay for. And in the training that I had with the Living Foods, as a Living Foods practitioner, we were taught about movement, lymph drainage, etc. And the best way to do that is on a rebounder. So you can rebound while you're watching TV,
Wow.
and it's accumulative. So I try and set my alarm 5 minutes every hour, but I have a confession. My rebounder is covered in books. So either the dog is lying on it. When I had a dog, sadly, this is the first time in 25 years we don't have a dog, but the dogs used to lie on it and it's covered in books. So I have the intention, but I just don't get round to it. I don't hear the bell anymore because I'm so in the zone with the workload. But yeah, a rebounder is super, especially when
Good.
the weather is not good to get out.
Sounds
Mm,
fun. It's like a
yeah.
grown-up trampoline, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And if you're a little bit wobbly, it does come with a bar as well, so you can just
great.
bounce up and down. And as I say, it's accumulative. It drains the lymph. It's good for just about every single thing, unless you've got something like bone cancer. That would probably be
Mm.
the only exception where I'd say don't use it. But otherwise, it is
And I guess it's
brilliant.
quite gentle on the joints as well, isn't it? If it's
Very,
and yeah,
very
brilliant.
gentle. Yeah. I mean, you can go mad and do jumping jacks and what have you, but yeah, nice and gentle. So, how did you get into coaching, John? You said you burnt out as an
Mm.
exec. How did coaching cross your radar then?
I started reading and looking at a few kind of what I would call self-help, and I guess I went the route a lot of initial coaches go. Of course, Tony Robbins came up and a number of others. I was also looking to the East as well, at Eastern practices. Um, Then I came across a coach, and I guess you go with the coach that really resonates with your values, and his name was Rich Litvin. Um, he's been inspirational to me. I've never met him. We've chatted online, and I've been on some of his webinars, but he really inspired me that anything is possible. Um, I also liked his analogy that everything in your life before that time is tools in the toolbox, and to be a coach, you will be drawing on life experiences. And I really like the way that he put that. I think sometimes there's a mystery around coaching, that it's difficult or that you need to learn it. And of course, we need to learn techniques. We need to learn good questioning and listening skills. But his delivery of how to become an exponential coach, which is the name of his course, was just incredible.
Okay. And so you went on training, you became a
Yeah.
coach. How long ago was that?
Nearly
2017,
five,
did you
nearly
say?
5 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And from our discussions, accreditation hadn't crossed your radar or hadn't become important.
No,
What are your views now that we've talked about it?
I think it's good, Dawn. I'll tell you why. And this is probably something from my childhood. I left school at 16. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to earn money and I wanted to get my first car. And I
Oh,
wanted to leave home. Not that I didn't have a really happy home, but I wanted to be independent. And I saw this as the route to do it fastest. So I didn't do A levels. I didn't go to university. And I think because in my corporate career, I worked hard. Of course, I had some lucky breaks and I was promoted and I ended up being a consultant for some of the big four consultancies. And every single one of those jobs said, you must have a degree, you must have this, you must have that. And I know if I think about it, and it's a really good question, Dawn, I think that was a blocker for me. I didn't get certified as a coach for a while because I thought, why should I? I've managed my whole life without. But when I started working with CEOs and corporates, that was one of their first questions. Now, whether it should be or not is another matter. I'm sure there are good coaches who are accredited and there are good coaches who are not. But if that was a means to getting through doors, then I was going to do it. So I became a certified coach. And since we've been talking, I think we've known each other around 6 months now, Dawn. It really
Mm,
is much higher on my list of things that I should consider. Oh, well, I am considering it, but that I will do.
mm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I can understand that resistance. And that's the reason why we have the portfolio route as well, John,
Yeah.
because we recognize, well, there was two reasons. We recognized that there were some coaches who were not professionally trained or formally trained
Mm.
and got a coaching certificate. That doesn't mean they're not a great coach. We have people who have applied to us from the forces, corporate in-house coaches. They've never
Yeah.
been on coaching courses, but that's what they do. And in fact, that was my route to coaching. When I became a coach 20 years ago and a leaflet landed on my desk, I thought, what's this all about? Went on the introductory training. I thought, oh, that's what I've been doing with my sales team for donkey's years. I called it learning and development,
Yeah.
and motivation and retention and all of that sort of thing. But then I started to realize, obviously, there were differences. So the portfolio route, I think, is a catch-all. It's
Mm.
also important for people like me, who I don't consider myself an academic. I'm dyslexic, and I don't want to have to do a thesis and jump through hoops. So when we were talking about creating a portfolio route, um, we also did away with the competencies model and changed it to capabilities model because we felt
Mm.
it was much more inclusive, it was accurate, it's very fast, and it's flexible. So it means that we can say to somebody, okay, you're properly professionally trained or not, as the case may be. And the crux of it is, can you deliver a great coaching conversation?
Yeah.
And I say conversation rather than session because I think there's a subtle difference in the energy there when people think, oh, I've got to put my coaching hat on because I've got a session at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
versus I'm having a coaching conversation. But that's a whole other conversation about what does it mean to be a coach. So we went down the capabilities model. We had it benchmarked with Oxford Brookes University, who I think from memory said it was superior to what they'd seen at the time. And the feedback we get from our members is, yes, of course, it's scary putting yourself out there, particularly when you don't have to. Everybody is being accredited on a voluntary basis. In fact, even you going to be certified was on a voluntary basis. You could have just
Yeah.
continued the way you are. So yes, it's scary to put yourself out there. But when you do and you get the feedback, it's a massive boost to your confidence that yes, you're a best in class practitioner. You are delivering what you say you can deliver and so on. And in the eyes of the client, the end user, there's a certain amount of reassurance
Mm.
that you have been professionally and independently um, certified, accredited, had your credentials verified and authenticated, you've got the experience and so on. And that's the fundamental thing, I think, John. After COVID, we saw a lot of people add coaching to their skill set, to their title, but they
Yeah.
hadn't served their apprenticeship. They didn't have a study buddy, a mentor, a supervisor who was helping them, over a period of time, serve their apprenticeship, as it were.
Mm.
So I think it's the way to go, but it is not to decry coaches who are not professionally trained or not accredited. They can still be great. It's
Yeah.
just if you are certified, you are insured if your country offers insurance, you are accredited, and you do have a signature program or a book or something. These are just differentiators that help you stand out in a
Mm.
very crowded market.
You've really sold me on it, Dawn. I know we've talked about it before, and I love what you've done in your company about the portfolio route because I think it is really important for people, like you and me who aren't academic. I love the distinction as well. I like saying this to people. If something feels a bit scary and a bit exciting at the same time, then that's a compass that's putting you in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Good. Okay. So, what else? What else? So you've been a coach and you are on LinkedIn and you're the coach. You're becoming well, you are the coach to the CEOs, and you and I have helped each other with a little bit of profiling and mentoring, really. And
Mm.
now you've gone into the LinkedIn business where you're supporting the younger generation to achieve what you've achieved. How did that passion come about, and what's on offer, John?
When I started Dawn coaching, I always set a rule for myself that as many high ticket clients that I had, I would also have, an offer to help, and especially new coaches. I probably, like you, Dawn, have seen so many coaches who I think there's an awful statistic about 80% don't last a couple of years because they're not getting the money that they deserve.
Mm.
And I've done so much learning around this subject, and I've helped numerous coaches, probably 20 or 30 now, get their first paying client. And when I've looked at LinkedIn, I think it is a really good place to prospect for your ideal client. I think there's something like, I might be wrong, but over 300 million people are probably on LinkedIn. It may be more than that now. And there's enough clients there for everybody as a coach. So whatever your niche, you can find your ideal client on LinkedIn. Now that isn't the whole story. Once you find them, what do you do? And this is where I've developed, along with a couple of other people and mentors of mine, a way of communicating with people that doesn't involve posting 100 times a month or hassling people. It's a really good bespoke process to get in touch with your ideal client. And I'm offering that course now, and it's filling up really well. And I think it isn't, honestly, it's not so much the money I charge. I do charge something because I think if people get something complimentary, they don't value it and they won't show up. This course is all about taking action and getting your first paid client within 4 weeks. And I haven't had anyone who hasn't achieved that yet.
Wow, that is fantastic. That's music to
Yeah.
newbie coaches' ears, I'm sure, because I mean, this is one of the reasons why the IAPC&M built a CPD and business building package, because we recognized that coaches were getting a distinction certificate on Friday night, and then on Monday morning it was like, how am I going to get
Yeah.
paid at the end of the month? I don't have the business acumen. And we surveyed hundreds and hundreds of coaches around the world, and the same things were coming up: lack of confidence, lack of sales and marketing experience, lack of accounting know-how. I mean, the whole thing can be just put under lack of business acumen.
Yeah.
So we started networking with people like yourself, saying, would you do a masterclass for us? Could we interview you? So it's all about paying it forward to the industry and inspiring the
Yeah.
younger generation to have those skills and lay the foundation, so that, after 1, 2, 3 years, they weren't drifting back to a job, which, as we know, stands for just above broke,
Mm.
or going on course after course, or being seduced by the advertising on Facebook predominantly, earn six figures in six
Yeah.
months and, work for 4 hours on a laptop on the beach. That is not the reality of the situation. It's hard work. You get what you put into it. You've got to lay the foundations, wait actively, and listen to the experts, and have a supervisor, mentor, or coach yourself walk the walk. So your program is going to go a long way towards solving that issue for them.
Yeah, and I know it does. I'm not that good at self-promotion, but I know you and I have talked about it. We will post a link if people want to get in touch. I'm unusual as well, Dawn, in that I don't have a website, and I think that says a lot too. I think there are organic ways to build your coaching clients authentically, in line with your values, that don't involve, email lists, spamming people. That is important to me. I wanted my coaching business, which it is now, to very quickly become a refer or invite only. And I've achieved that. And I think if I can help other coaches very quickly, as you say, get rid of what I would call, and I think you termed it, I'll name it, is kind of the comfort learning circle, where I'll just take one more course. If I read one more book, I'm going to be ready for coaching.
Mm.
You touched on a really valid point as well, Dawn, and this is where your program that you've designed will be invaluable. I took for granted that I know how to run a business. When I became a coach, I had my own limited company for 10 years. I know about invoicing, accounts, a bit of marketing. And this is something else that I think new coaches are missing. You know, we sometimes take for granted that other people know that stuff. Now, my course doesn't teach that, but it does teach you how to land clients very easily in line with your values, and within 4 weeks.
Mm. I'm glad you've raised that because it's never come up in conversation before. But I feel very strongly that coaches need to know they don't need a website. I don't have a website. I've been doing this for 20 years. I had a website, spent a lot of money on it and didn't get very much return on it. So I thought, well, the IAPC&M directory profile is my shop window. I can
Yep.
upload testimonials, videos. It does everything except a shopping cart. So I just don't need a website. So I let it go. And I'm always saying to new coaches, you know, you haven't earned any money yet. So why would you go into debt for a website, for business
Yep.
cards, for an accountant, which all these things that you just don't need.
Yep.
So it's refreshing to hear somebody like you say that.
I
Hmm.
challenge coaches when I first speak to them, because I think, you know, I was probably this person 5 years ago. Oh, I need a website before I can, to show how professional I am. Well, no, you don't, because you haven't got testimonials yet. You haven't got any clients. There's
Mm,
probably no need initially to develop your own coaching program.
mm,
So, challenge and support in the right measure is what I do in my program. And it, done the right way, Dawn, and we cover it. Your LinkedIn profile is your shop window. I know you have a profile on a coaching website. I do. I have one on my calendar website that I use for bookings. That is my public profile. I don't need to do anything with it. I can just put new testimonials there when they come, and that's it. If you think of it this way, LinkedIn has all these people who are hungry for a good coach. You don't need to drive any traffic to your website. You just need to create a strong profile on your LinkedIn, which resonates with your ideal client, and they will come to you almost.
mm. And that's the premise of what you're teaching the younger
Uh,
generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I might make a little distinction as well there, Dawn. It's not just the new generation. I've worked with people who are, an example, I'm working with a retiring fireman at the moment. They retire at 50 or 55. He
Mm,
wants to become a coach. So it
mm,
isn't just the younger generation. I would be wary of saying to the younger generation, I know how social media works. I don't.
mm.
I know how, well, of course I do, but I know how LinkedIn works, and I know how you'll get clients there. So it isn't just for the younger generation. I'm sure they can teach me, and they do many things about other platforms to advertise yourself. But for me, I teach what works, and that is LinkedIn is the place for me.
Yeah, I take your point, but sorry, I misled you. It was my shorthand. The younger generation of coaches is what I meant. The
Sorry,
the
yeah,
ones
you're
coming up
absolutely right. Yeah.
behind us. So yeah, I've just checked. Oh, we do have a question. Gillian's just said, how possible is it to handle other business while coaching? I don't know if I understand that. How possible is it
I,
to handle other business while coaching?
I can
Is it
answer that.
business of business?
Yeah, I can answer it from my perspective and from what I've seen. If she's asking whether you can be employed by somebody else, they pay you your bread and butter, they put a roof over your house and become a coach, of course you can. What
Mm,
I always say to people who work with me, though, is when you're ready, your profile needs to be unambiguous on LinkedIn. It can't be, I work for PG Tips, but I also do a bit of coaching.
I
Your
see. Yeah.
ideal client will not resonate with that. So when you're ready, and only you'll know when you're ready, and I also make the distinction just before you're ready, because no one's ever quite ready, your profile changes. This is my offering, and it is your sales page.
Yes, okay, yeah. And actually, I would always recommend that the younger generation of coaches don't give up their full-time job until they are absolutely in a good place. I think I kept my job going for about 6 months, or I can't even remember, but I know I had a full-time job while I was building my business. I didn't just give up my job and then launch into it. You do need that
Yep.
security blanket. I'm
And it's
conscious of
really,
time.
yeah, sure.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, and it's really important that you've mentioned that, Dawn, because I can't remember who described it. It's not my phrase, but if you are a new coach and you're desperate for clients because you need the money, it will show, and you
Yeah.
will not win new clients that way.
Yeah, there's a saying, isn't there? People can smell desperation a mile off.
Yeah, I think that was it,
And
actually, the new coach smell. Yeah.
yeah, and it's true. Yeah, I'm conscious of time. I know you have a regular coaching session to go to. Perhaps you'd just like to end with any other details around contact, how to get involved, and what's coming up for you next, John, that you can help people with.
Yeah, of course. I'd love you to have a conversation with me. I think it's possible, Dawn, that I can give you a link where people can book 15 minutes with me. We can chat about anything. It doesn't have to be about my LinkedIn course, but I'm very happy, and I always say you never know where a conversation will lead. So I'll send you a link for people to have a chat with me. I love conversations, so I've really enjoyed being on today, Dawn, and thanks for the invite. It's been really good to have a chat with you, and I hope we'll help some new coaches.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And I appreciate you stepping into the breach with less than an hour's notice. So that's a real can-do attitude. Thank you for that. So as I said, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. So you'll see any of those. You can put the links in and start engaging with anybody who likes or follows. We tend to find there's quite a lot of sharing of these calls, and obviously you can promote the call wherever you like. We're going to have you back at the IAPC&M in the second half of the year doing a masterclass. I know you're in
Yeah.
talks with Lisa, head of CPD for that. And you and I are going to meet soon. And Gillian is definitely going to go on your course. So job done.
Thanks ever so much. You take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.
Bye, Dawn.
Bye, John.